Hey there, are you grieving the potential loss of a loved one or feeling overwhelmed with the loss of someone you care about? If so, you're in the right place. Lisa Hartung here, and this podcast is designed to guide you through topics surrounding death and dying. We'll dive into multifaceted aspects of grief, offering you a blend of personal stories, expert insights, and practical advice for your grief journey. May this be a safe space for you to learn, listen, and ask questions about your own life and loved ones. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Giving Grief Grace. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. I am so grateful that you are here. Today, I wanted to focus on something that has kind of been a thread throughout my life as I have worked through emotions, and it's writing. And writing is such a great grief therapy tool. As I was looking at different types of writing and ways to cope in prep for this little mini-sode, I learned of the term scriptotherapy, which was coined by Suzette Henke, and there's research by James Pennebaker all on writing through your emotions to express and release trauma or life challenges. So I thought, scriptotherapy, what a great terminology to have and to think about as we put words onto paper. It helps us externalize our feelings, and it promotes self-reflection, reduces stress, and it helps accelerate our healing. In a world where we are at our computers so much of the day, or if we're not at our computers, then we are on our phones, maybe typing out text messages, and so rarely do we hold a pencil or a pen and put it to paper. Let's think about how we can do more of that. When we talk about goal setting, it's all about you have to write it down, physically writing it down, not typing it on a computer, but writing it down. So there are so many benefits to writing. So it's a cathartic release. It's a private way for you to house your thoughts, to get them down on paper. You can vent frustrations. You can share your grief, write down your anxiety. And then by sharing it with the paper, it almost makes you feel like you're not alone. You can get increased clarity. I would say I'm a verbal processor, and as I write, I am thinking about what I would say. And so by getting that kind of subconscious thought process out, it's really helpful. You can also kind of organize chaotic thoughts by writing things down. Think about to-do lists. It's always helpful to get things down there. They could be ideas all floating in your brain, but writing them down helps with decision making as well. And then another aspect of writing is really helpful to process trauma. So whenever you lose a loved one, whether it be sudden or over time, I really feel journaling or writing in some way is a really healthy tool to have in your back pocket. And I would say when mom was sick, I would try to write every single night in my notebook. It was a place where I could put all of my sadness of the day or my hope for the future and in finding a cure for her. And it was somewhere where I could write and I could feel my emotions and let them flow. And sometimes, especially as a mom, it's hard. You don't want to be crying around your kids all the time. I think it's absolutely essential that your kids see you experience emotions. But if you're finding like, oh my gosh, I'm crying all day, every day, it's great to be able to have this one space where you say, okay, I'm going to write for 15 minutes and I'm going to just let the emotions flow. So there are different forms of writing. If you're like, hey, I am not a journaler, totally fine. I have mentioned in the past, I am in the Artist's Way program by Julia Cameron. So I've been going through it with a group of women. And part of the Artist's Way is writing morning pages. So these are 3 longhand pages that you write When you wake up, they say the first 10 minutes of every day is where you want to set your intentions for the day. And those ideas or things that you think about in those first 10 minutes of the day really carry on through the rest of the day. So, doing morning pages first thing, it is a stream of consciousness. So, you don't feel like you have to be perfect in writing it. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is what I had for dinner. Oh, I'm really looking forward to doing this. And I'm excited about this. And it just allows you to get unblocked. So let feelings flow. So you could do stream of consciousness. It could also be prompts. So, what's the happiest memory that you had with your mom? And what were you doing? What were you wearing? Were you eating something fun? What made that memory so special? So you could do prompts like that and think about a different prompt. You could ask Google or AI what a good prompt is, or you could just ask you could ask in your head, like, hey, what's a good prompt for the day? And something might pop in. You could write a letter. So I always feel like writing a letter to someone, you think of them, you think about, oh, what would they really like to hear? Kind of brings you joy thinking about that. You could also write a story. Is there a specific date or time that you have a memory about that you would love to write a little short story about? Maybe some creative writing. Is there a poem? Maybe it's rhyming. Maybe it's a haiku. Those are always fun. Short, simple, sweet conversations. Maybe you want to record a conversation that you had that you want to remember for years to come, and you want to write it down so that you don't forget it. Maybe you want to write a song, and if you're musically inclined, even if you're not musically inclined, you could add some music to it and write the lyrics to the song. One thing, I did a creative writing class and we wrote postcards, and I thought, what a great opportunity that you could write to your loved one. The postcard is maximum 3 sentences, right? There's not a lot of space on the back of the postcard. And you have to be really clear and concise. And it's such a gift to have a little short snippet of a day or a memory that you wanted to share with someone special. So you could write a postcard. You could also write a post-it note. So my father-in-law died suddenly, and he had written on a post-it note, I love you. And he had put it on for my mother-in-law to see when he went off to work. And so she has that post-it note framed so she can see it every day. And I thought, how sweet is that? It's such a small little thing that you can do, but it's such a great reminder of a sweet memory or someone. So write something on a post-it note. And one thing we actually did at church this week, there were little, probably like 4 by 4 inch pieces of paper that they handed out to everyone. And you wrote a prayer down that you wanted to have for the week. Then you folded it up and put it up at the front of the space, the area that we were congregating in. And then one by one, they played a song and they allowed people to go up and take someone else's prayer. And I thought, ooh, this is kind of odd. But it's such a gift that you get someone's secret prayer and you get to think about them and pray for them all week long. Like, what a gift. What a gift. And it just so happened I picked up a prayer of a kid who wanted to pray for his cousins and his aunts and uncles as one of their family members had died. And I thought, grief knows no age, and how sweet it is that he was thinking of them, and that was his prayer for the week. And so you can write something down and know that you don't have to keep it. It doesn't have to be prolific. And if you want, you could burn it. That's such a great, they always say, like, if you're feeling all of this anxious anxiety, like, burn it. Let it ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Maybe you are writing and it's making you feel all of the feelings. You just close the journal and put it in a drawer. And that's like, okay, I've had my feelings for the day. I'm going to put it away. Or maybe you want to put it in a message in a bottle and throw it out to sea or throw it in the lake. Well, I don't support littering. It could be fun to do something unique. Maybe it's waterproof paper. I don't know. It does biodegrade. And balloons, releasing balloons these days isn't as much, but thinking about releasing something else, maybe you write on something and then release it into the atmosphere in some way. Maybe I'm thinking of like writing a note on the tree, but we don't want to scratch the tree bark. But thinking maybe you could just, say a little prayer and touch the tree and ground yourself, right? That's a grounding practice as well to help you. Maybe you could make your whatever you wrote down into origami, or maybe if you wrote a letter, you could send it to a friend or a family member. And maybe if you wrote the letter to the person who has passed and you think about maybe someone who is close to them might also like to see this letter. Like, how cool would that be? It's always great receiving mail. Send it to them. Or maybe it's something really special that the two of you cherish together and you want to keep it in a box under your bed. And that's okay too. So, thinking about writing as a release, the scriptotherapy, as they call it, just how cathartic it can be. It can help you release your emotions. So, today, I hope that you are able to write something down. Maybe it's a post-it note, maybe it's a prayer and you share it with someone. But I would love for you to write down one sentence to your loved one. Just one sentence. Start there. You never know where it will take you. Maybe it's the best meal that you shared with them. What was the best meal you shared with them? I always think, sharing a meal is sharing love and community, and love is so tied to our eating and being in community and being together and celebrating all that there is in life to enjoy. I'll just leave you with a little letter that I wrote to my mom today because I was missing her extra extra. It's around the 4th of July, and so that was something we did a lot. Mom was like the maker of all of the fun around the 4th of July. So I said, "Dear Mom, oh, how I miss you. I miss your laugh, your hugs, your silliness, and how you loved your grandkids so. A child at heart always. The 4th of July reminds me of childhood parades with pots and pans and noisemakers and red, white, and blue outfits and sparkly headbands, of watermelon seed spitting contests and skits created by the neighborhood gang. We were living the time of our lives." That's just a little excerpt of what I wrote to her, but I hope that you have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sending you love and grace and gratitude. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. It would be such a gift if you could share this episode with someone and brighten their day. You never know what will happen. Subscribe to get a weekly dose of positivity, and while you're at it, please leave a review. May you be kind to yourself in the week ahead and give yourself grace. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.